Hi, I'm Elijah Miller of the Cary Cap League. You are watching Cap League TV. I'm here with Dr. Warren, our guide, right, and Cap League director. Good afternoon. How you doing?
Hey, Elijah, how you doing, man? Everything all right?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well.
Okay, good.
Today we're here to talk about mentorship. So my first question is, did you ever have a mentor?
Yeah, I did. I actually had multiple mentors growing up, so it's a lot of people that I can actually mention on that. But I definitely had mentor growing up. I'll probably say the one that probably comes to mind is probably by a gentleman by the name of Vashawn Sims. He was probably my first mentor, probably the first person that I knew of that was an engineer, who was what I wanted to become growing up as a kid. And so he had a lot of impact on me. So Vashawn Sims would be probably the first mentor that I really truly had.
Well, how did you meet?
So it's interesting. So growing up, I always wanted to work for NASA. So that was always my big thing. I always liked the space shuttle. I liked, the moon, people going to the moon and all that good type of stuff. And so that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to try to work for NASA if I could. And I had the opportunity when I was going to Alabama A&M to internship at NASA. And lo and behold, Vashawn Sims was the engineer that they partnered me with. And so that was my first time working at NASA, and that was the first time meeting with Vashawn, and he pretty much showed me all of the ropes. So he was a great mentor and also a great leader for me.
So what's a thing that they taught you?
Yeah, so he taught me a lot. I mean, a lot of things that I noticed about Vashawn is that he was extremely professional. I watched how he answered the phones. I watched how he interacted with people. I watched how he listened. That was one of the probably the first people who showed me how you can be really, really smart, but being a very, very good listener is even stronger than that. So I knew he was really smart, but he would sit back in the room and he would wait till he heard a lot of the requirements before he spoke up and gave any of his opinions or recommendations. And so what I learned from him is just, I would probably say professionalism in itself, but he was also very, very laid back. And that was big for me coming out of Detroit, Michigan. So I wanted somebody who was, very similar to how I was. I'm laid back and I'm pretty funny. And he was the same type of way. He played video games. He liked to go out. He watched the same type of movies that I had. And he had kind of a similar experience growing up down in Florida. So it just paired out to be a great match for me.
Oh yeah, so do you have a story on how they impacted your life?
Yeah, so Vashawn, he introduced me to network engineering. He was a systems engineer, but he was really, really good in what we call network engineering. And the company that I work for now is I pretty much got my pathway working with him. He showed me how to work with Cisco routers and Cisco switches and a lot of the different Cisco equipment. And so one of the big projects that he gave me was to build out a Cisco lab so that all of the other engineers could, learn Cisco, learn different types of products, learn the different type of technologies. And he gave that to me. And that was a huge, huge responsibility for me to be able to actually build out a lab. So I had to do a lot of research, which is huge for engineers to be able to actually perform. Probably the number one thing that they have to do. Had to do a lot of research in Cisco, a lot of research in routers and switches and well, at that time, ATM and things of that nature, and build out this huge Cisco lab. And it became pretty much the lab where everybody was able to do their training and to do all of the testing that they needed to do across the NASA infrastructure.
So, is there anything you'd like to say to him today?
Yeah, Vashawn, it was a good thing about Vashawn. I talk to him all the time. He has daughters and things of that nature. His daughters are just as smart as him. I think one of them is going off and getting her doctorate in like biotechnology or something that nature up in Yale somewhere. So I just saw him recently about 2 months ago when I was down at Epic Universe, and he came down and spent the day with me down at Epic Universe. We rode some rides together. We always talk about, things that we kind of learn from each other being at NASA, and every time I get a chance, I always reach out to him and get a chance to kick it with him. So yeah, I always had a good time with Vashawn, talk to him all the time and stay in contact with him.
Thank you for your time. I'm Elijah Miller, reporting for the Cap League TV.